Welcome to the Watkins site-specific induction. Once you have completed this induction, that should take no more than 10 to 15 minutes, you will not be required to complete another induction if you were to work on any additional Watkins site. You will, however, still be expected to complete the principal contractor's induction for their site. Please follow the guidance given in this induction, and if you have any concerns, speak with your Watkins supervisor. Starting on site. Watkins has always had a proactive approach to the health and safety of its employees and those who may come into contact with our work activities on site. We ask all those who sit this induction to keep to the same standards we as a company expect, follow the site rules, refrain from a poor approach to health and safety such as bad housekeeping, and work to the measures outlined in your risk and method statements. If you have any concerns, always discuss this with your Watkins supervisor. All operatives working on site must have an in-date CSCS, ECS, or similar skills card to be able to work on site that is specific to their trade. If you have any questions on competency or training, speak with your supervisor or speak with the Watkins HSEQ team. In addition, you may need to be trained in areas of management or supervisory roles or where tasks are high risk and require you to have been assessed by an approved training provider. Evidence should be provided upon your arrival to site and before you complete the principal contractor's induction. Always attend the principal contractor's site induction on your first day. This will explain to you the site rules, PPE required, and any additional information specific to the site. Pay close attention to emergency procedure arrangements, including fire and first aid, and take note of where the site notice boards are positioned. Once you have completed your induction, your supervisor will ask you to read, understand and sign the relevant Watkins or contractor risk assessment to make you aware of the hazards that surround your specific task and the measures you must take to reduce injury to you or somebody else. Always work to your risk and method statements and report any concerns with your Watkins supervisor. All Watkins supervisors are trained first aiders and a fully stocked first aid kit is available in the Watkins site office. Any and all accidents should be reported to your Watkins supervisor and are recorded on a Level 1 report for the HSEQ team to advise upon. This form can also be used to report a near miss or dangerous occurrence. In the event of an emergency, the Watkins HSEQ notice board, situated in the Watkins office, will have local emergency contact numbers attached to it. In and around site. Welfare will be provided on site. This will include toilets, a place to eat and a drying room. Food should only be consumed in canteens so as to avoid attracting vermin and the risk of disease. Always stick to the designated walkways when accessing site and never make shortcuts through the site. Be aware of moving plant machinery when crossing designated areas and pay extra attention when vehicles are reversing as they may not see you. When storing materials, be careful not to store heavy materials above shoulder height. Instead, keep heavy materials stored at lower levels. Keep storage areas tidy at all times, avoiding leaving materials on the floor and especially in walkways. Hazardous materials should not be stored in site huts, but instead in dedicated storage areas. Always keep your work areas tidy and dispose of waste in the segregated areas. This will help in reducing the likelihood of a slip, trip or fall whilst at work and help the principal contractor recycle waste easier. When working on scaffolding, you should never attempt to alter it in any way. This is a responsibility of the scaffold company. If you are concerned with any scaffold you may be asked to work on, including handrails or scaffold boards, report to your Watkins supervisor immediately. Pay close attention to safe working loads and speak to management if you're concerned. All deliveries should be discussed with your Watkins site management before they arrive to site, as equipment such as cranes or forklift trucks may be required, and arranged with the principal contractor. Issuing time slots may be included in the principal contractor's logistics plan, and this will need to be considered when arranging for deliveries to site. Upon hearing a fire alarm, make your way immediately to the fire assembly point and find your Watkins supervisor for a roll call. Only tackle a fire if you're trained to do so, as using the wrong extinguisher can make a fire much worse. If you spot a fire, raise the alarm immediately at one of the designated fire alarm points and make your way to the fire assembly point. If you have an accident, always seek the assistance of a first aider. All of the Watkins supervisors are first aid trained. If you come across an accident, never put yourself at risk and instead raise the alarm. Only treat someone if you have had first aid training, or assist the injured party by calling for a first aider and reassuring them until assistance arrives. Keep them comfortable and quiet. All scrap should be given to your supervisor at the end of your workday. General site safety. Personal protection equipment, or PPE, will be assessed in risk assessments and issued accordingly for the specific tasks you will be carrying out. All PPE, once issued, is your responsibility and should be looked after and kept safe, reporting any issues to your Watkins supervisor. Required PPE includes safety boots, midsole and steel-toe cap, Watkins high visibility vest, hard hat and cut-resistant gloves. PPE required dependent on the task includes FFP3 or a vapour mask, ear defenders and safety goggles or glasses. These must be on your person. Always follow the information signs on site. Each colour has a different meaning which you have to be aware of. A red sign means you are prohibited from doing something. You must not do it. For example, you could be prohibited from using your phones in a certain area. A blue sign means something is mandatory, meaning you must do it. For example, you must wear your hard hat. A green sign means information. This could be informing you of safe conditions. A yellow sign means hazards. This could be informing you of potential dangers and hazards that lie ahead. Sites and corridors will be well lit by the principal contractor. However, plots and work areas will require portable 110 volts or battery lighting for you to be able to complete tasks. Don't let leads trail on the floor as this creates trip hazards. Instead, place them above head height or up against wedges of walls. Smoking is not permitted on site. This includes e-cigarettes. Smoking is only permitted in designated smoking areas as outlined by the principal contractor at Induction. Illegal drugs and alcohol are not permitted on site, and anyone working under Watkins on site could be subject to a drug or alcohol test. If you are on prescribed medication, you must inform your Watkins supervisor as they may need to speak with a HSEQ or HR team for further guidance. Work equipment. All equipment must be visually inspected before use and kept in good working condition at all times. 110 volt and battery powered tools only are to be used on site. 240 volt equipment is only permitted in the Watkins office. You must be competent to use the equipment required to complete specific tasks. This may include abrasive wheels training or spit nail gun training. Never remove a guard from a machine. They are there to protect you from coming into contact with moving blades or to prevent you from coming into contact with hazardous substances such as dust. Only trained, authorised and competent operatives should manoeuvre plant machinery, and only trained operatives should assist when vehicles are manoeuvring. If you are asked to assist, you should politely refuse. Keep to designated walkways and only cross route where moving vehicles are at a designated crossing point. All equipment used on site must have an in-date PAT test attached or a certificate of testing for review at any time. Watkins have clear electrical safety procedures including safe isolation and lock-off, and these must be followed at all times. Speak with supervisors before you start work with electricity and follow safe working procedures as laid out in risk and method statements. Never tamper with any consumer unit that has been locked off, and speak with your supervisor if you have any concerns. Report any damage to a consumer unit or electrical riser cupboard to a Watkins supervisor immediately. All lifting equipment must be thoroughly examined by a competent person on an annual basis, and a certificate or a tag attached, and then inspected each time the item is used. Never use equipment that is damaged, and if you have any concerns, these should be raised with your Watkins supervisor before use. Specific risk assessments or lifting plans will need to be created for using specific pieces of equipment. Harnesses and lanyards should only be used as a last resort, and clearance should be received from the Watkins HSEQ manager before use. A harness and lanyard should be thoroughly examined on a 6-month basis by a competent person with an inspection tag attached. All users of this equipment must have been trained to wear correctly, adjust and inspect before use. All tools should be tethered to a tool lanyard when working from heights above stairwells or near any areas where objects may fall on those below. High-risk activities. Refer to risk assessments when considering working from heights, and always use equipment that has a handrail to protect you from falling. Step ladders and 600 by 600 hop-ups should be used as a last resort and only where risk and method statements stipulate. Always inspect equipment before you use it and make sure it has a 7-day inspection tag attached to it. Report any concerns to a Watkins site supervisor. Class 1 ladders and step ladders and 600 by 600 hop-ups should be used as a last resort and only where risk and method statements stipulate. Never stand on above the 2 steps on a step ladder. Always inspect equipment before you use it and make sure it has a 7-day inspection tag attached. Report any concerns to a Watkins site supervisor. Podium steps should be the preferred choice over a traditional step ladder. These should only be used when podiums are inaccessible to certain areas. Podiums should be used in all areas where there is access to do so, as they have a collective measure in a barrier to prevent a fall from height. Make sure they have the wheels locked off, are on a flat solid surface, and have been inspected before use. Confined spaces are dangerous environments and will require specific risk assessments from the HSEQ division. Speak with your Watkins supervisor if you are concerned. Boiler rooms and tank houses are types of areas that are deemed confined spaces as they are difficult to access, are restricted for movement, and there may be limited access to natural ventilation. Chemicals have the potential to cause serious harm to operatives. Always read COSH assessments before you start work and take precautions using the PPE and the other advice the assessment informs you of. Items may be corrosive, toxic or flammable, and you will need to know what precautions to take before you begin working with them. When completing any task that could start a fire, such as soldering, grinding or welding, you must either complete the principal contractor's hot works permit or the Watkins designated one, and then complete a fire watch for 1 hour after you have finished. You must always have 2 1-kilogram fire extinguishers with you at all times. Occupational hazards. 1 in 3 will complain to a GP or a medical professional of a strained shoulder or back in their lifetime. All those completing manual handling must follow risk assessments for their specific task and always use mechanical machinery where possible to move materials. If this is not possible, pallet trucks and sack barrows must be used. Complete tasks in groups and report any issues to your Watkins site supervisor. Follow training given and always lift using the correct techniques as outlined. Dust is extremely harmful and the release of dust particles should be avoided, so using Class M hoovers as opposed to sweeping and using dust collection on tools should be a priority. All those that need to wear a mask should be fit tested and hold a current certificate. Be careful as beards stop a mask from sealing to the face effectively, and then should be wearing an FFP3 mask at all times whilst working. When completing tasks that create vapours, the appropriate filter should be attached. Noise can cause hearing conditions, from hearing loss, tinnitus to complete deafness. Follow risk assessments and wear suitable hearing protection when decibels are 85 dC or over, or if you can't have a conversation with someone else 2 meters away without raising your voice. Using vibration tools can cause serious injury to operatives, including hand-arm vibration and carpal tunnel syndrome. Follow risk assessments for exposure levels, keep warm and dry, and report any concerns to a Watkins supervisor. Thank you for listening and completing the Watkins site-specific induction.